common ground with your customer. Most important, because that's where you start off. You got to get on common ground, get in there and talk about things that mean something to both of you. Not the sale, but common ground. His kids, your kids, blah, blah, blah. You talk about competitive sales. When you're sitting there and everybody's selling the same condominium, the same square footage, the same furniture and everything else, and you got to convince this guy that you got the best deal on the beach, this is a little difficult. But that's why we sold $10 million worth of product last year, because we did it. You're on stage. If you can put yourself on stage and really convince yourself that you are, in fact, a great actor, you know, it's all it is. We come down to the close, it's like he said. He said, if you've covered all of this, you're going to get the encore. If the claps aren't loud enough, you got to go back in and do another scene. That's closing. John asked me to talk on closing, and I think basically Valetti more or less covered the steps that you have to take. But in closing, the greatest way to handle an objection is to shake your head, agree with that, and then go right back into another close. Yeah, agree. When you disarm somebody by agreeing with them, you take it away from him. He's dead. Then you go back in, you say, go right back to the steps. Where did I miss? Let me go back into the steps again. Where did I? And my parting shot, closing-wise, is what do I have to do to sell you something today? Always ask them. Because 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you. And the objection, I want to think about it, is not a true objection. That's a lie. He's lying to you, and you haven't gotten to him. You see what I mean? In other words, you haven't made the sale. And the majority of salespeople that I've been affiliated with over the last 30 years hate to hear that. I want to think about it. I don't know if we want to do this. They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear that no. But if you'll accept the no the same as you have the yeses that you build up through a sale, this guy's going to eventually that objection is washed away. That I want to think about it. They get it. Because I'm not going to take that as a true objection. There's another reason why they're not buying. Either they can't make the decision, somebody else has to make the decision. The other thing, get in front of the person who can make the decision. I don't want to talk to anybody. I handle no one-legged ups. If a husband and wife is not there, I don't talk. Can you make a decision today? That's opening with a close. The other thing that you mentioned, never ask a question that you don't know the answer to. Never ask, especially in a closing situation, never ask a question that you don't know the answer to. Okay? You open up, if you're doing a closing, what you do, you open up an area that you haven't discussed. And when you're in a close, you want all, it's called buttoning up. You want to be able to say that you know the answers and we've discussed them and now it's time to buy. There's a time to buy, and the time to buy is after you've touched all the bases, closed all the doors in your own mind. If you haven't, he's going to give you the objection to closing. I can understand that. However, you go right back into the sale.
How do you get into a final close, Jack?
Well,
if we could have got this for you, you would have bought it today?
Oh, it all comes down on a question, John. In other words, when you ask the closing question.
Could I interject a minute? What I'm getting at in terms of our business and what I want him to address is how you all can get into a final close when you're dealing with your agent, where an agent has a VA or an FHA deal, and she says, well, I can get 3 in 1. And you just told her you have 3.5 in 1. That was your quote. And how to structure that, Jack, so that you mean to say, if I could have got, there's a couple ways you can do it and lose the deal. But one way you can get into a final close is, and at least in our business, is you mean to say if I could get you 3, okay, you would give me that deal? Oh yeah. Well, let me call right now.
That goes right back down to narrowing it down to, like John says, anything that's written on that contract that is a stipulation to that contract is you already know that you can deliver. You see what I mean? In other words, if there's a question in your mind whether you can deliver it or not, then you can go to a telephone close. Let me see what I can do, and you reach for his phone. If I can get that, or if we've got a deal.
That's the key right
in
there.
other words, what happens is the same as the old radio close. If he says, whoa, wait a minute. I mean, I've heard him holler for, from the back seat. Wait a minute. They know that once you go into that now we're here. So basically what the problem is that you don't have, then you don't have the true objection. You see what I mean? That is not the truth. They're not, and 9 times out of 10, a customer will not tell you their true objection initially. They'll throw up these false objections. Everybody does it. You've done it yourself when you bought things, or you're going in to shop something. You've thrown up, well, I want to look over at Joe Schmo's and see what they've got. You like what you see, but you just, you're thinking money, you know what I mean? You're going through the mental gymnastics of why you're not going to buy it right now. And the idea is to make that person buy today. And the only way you're going to make them buy today is number 1, make them buy you. And that's why you're successful, or that's why you're fed. The word con man is a bunch of crap. You have to gain somebody's confidence before you can sell them anything. I don't care who you are or what you sell them. If you are calling on people, making direct contact with customers, if you can't sell yourself, you're in trouble. Because they have to buy you first. It's the same. Hey, how many actors do you see that people don't go see? They don't pay too much, do they? So you have to sell yourself. It's the most important sale is initially that common ground. You get them to like it. They'll buy your program if you are anywhere near competitive, because you can point out, you can highlight why they should. Serviceability. I don't know. You're selling money. I can't see the problem in selling money. You know what I mean? Because that would be the last thing I would sell. I would sell myself. Sell myself. Sit there and give them the reasons why they should buy from me. Okay? And then simply, it's like building a house. You go out. We've all done it. You've done it. I've done it. You've shown this lot. And it's a beautiful. I've sold lots that had holes in them. I'm serious, because of the money. Because of the money. I mean, I probably picked up the biggest spiffs at Lake of the Woods that there's ever been.
Spiffs and a little extra you get for selling a
little extra, like a couple of thousand. You know what I mean? So I would go out and look at this lot, and I would build a story around it. Okay? Build a story. That's the product. And this was not a product. But basically, I had to sell myself to that person. Otherwise, I could never sell them that lot. But okay, we take the lot. We go out here and we look at the lot. Here's a beautiful lot. Okay, now let's see. First of all, step by step. Now, which trees would you say? That one over there and this one. Yeah, you have to mark all the ones that you want cut down and the ones you want to leave. What in fact have I done? It's no longer our lot, it's theirs. Okay? Let's see, what kind of house going is here? Oh, lovely. You see what I mean? Now then, the main thing is it's like building a house. You sell the lot, you build the foundation, and closing is putting the roof on it and hitting the nails with a hammer to get the roof to stay. Because if you don't hammer that roof down, the roof's going to blow away, right? So in closing, and I mean getting it to the nitty gritty, make sure and check before you go into a close that you have sold yourself. You've got to do it, and there are little things that you can test. In other words, you're taking a guy's temperature. Is it time to close him? Now, a lot of people will talk themselves into a sale and out of a sale. A lot of salespeople do this. So, and it's probably they don't recognize and they don't know the closing questions to ask. How do you know when it's time to go into a close? And the simplest way is to say to Mr. Prospect, how does it sound to you? I mean, it's a very simple question. You ask him a question, how does it sound to you?
Okay, but I don't think so.
That's fine. I can understand that. If I knew your product, I'd go right back into it. What we're delivering here today is da-da-da-da, you know what I mean? And just go right on back over the same steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
When do you give up the sale, though? There's some point where you keep going into it and you keep being the same objection.
When the man can give me a reason, a legitimate objection not to buy. And as I say, I don't know your product. With me, it's he can't afford it. I mean, he truly can't afford it. Because even if I sold it to him, I couldn't get him qualified. You see what I mean? In other words, but with yours, as far as what I see here, if you have a competition type thing, it's a spread in the.
It's shopping. They go to you and then they go to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if I were selling this, I would find out how much the man has shopped. First off, I would get him to like me, get on common ground again, then find out what he shopped. Do you ask him what programs he's looked at? You don't? I would think that would be very important because of the fact that it's like when the guy walks into my model, other than introduction, common ground, where you folks from, blah, 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 how long are you going to be on the island, what have you looked at?
I don't want to acknowledge, though, that he's shopping.
Why not? It's
Because
true.
I want him to make a commitment.
That's all right. He can make the commitment, but you have to. You're kidding yourself if you don't acknowledge the fact that there's somebody else out there. There's competition out there. In other words, find out what he's heard. Find out what he. In other words, you've got to know. You've got to know before you can sell it. You've got to ask him. Yeah.
I understand. Get down to the point of liar buyer. We know one thing. I love women's sales, by the way, to work for me, because I know one thing. Men will lie to women quicker than they'll lie to a man. But when you're in sales, you want that consumer to lie to you. Remember what the objection is? We know it's a lie.
False objection.
It's a lie. So we want to create the right lie or the right objection. But you've got to know, hey, what else have you seen? There's a lie out there.
You've got to ask that question. If you don't ask that question, you haven't got a chance.
How many places can you buy a car from? I don't know. Can't be afraid.
It's just basically the reason that you would ask that is because you're putting yourself in direct competition with someone. But until you can break that ice and get into even the guy said, well, wait a minute, now they're a half a point lower. I understand. They're half a point lower. However, are they going to be able to give you the service that we give? Right?
Well, I ask them what they're looking for. What can I do to fit in?
It's fine. But find out what they've seen.
Well, you do along the way.
Yeah, as I say.
When you shoot a point, you go, it's 2 points. I got it at 1.5 points. I can close in 30 days. They said 22.
I would open up with it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm going against the grain. I would open up with it. Hey, let's get it out here. Let's look at it. I can't close somebody if I don't know what I'm up against. And if I know everybody's product, which I know the product on that island like the back of my hand. I know everybody's prices. I know the whole everything. And we're not price-wise, we're not the best on the island. You see what I mean?
He's saying the same thing happens to us, right? He's telling you nothing different in his business.
No.
Is that you know your
The
competition.
thing is, you've got to know that competition, and you got to get it out there and talk about it. Because if you don't talk about it, you're going to blow the deal anyway.
Right.
So why not know in front and take the shot of being able to sell yourself to this person.
Because well, I agree with you now, but because I sell myself first, and I get a rapport going with them so that they feel obligated, they want to give me the deal.
You can also ask them any question now.
Right, and now I can say to them, I'll say, well, the points in this would be 2 and 1, and they'll go, and they'll think, and I'll go, you probably have seen 1.5 and 1, but let me tell you, da-da-da. But the only problem I run into is I'm selling service, whereas I'm taking a loan application and I'm promising to close it and I'm going to help them. I'm going to get them a vehicle to obtain that house. But that's it. As soon as that closes, I have no further contact with it. I don't even attend to closing. So you've got to close a deal in this business before you close it. You've got to close it 4 days before.
I always open closing. But as I say, I get on common ground with them. I've got to know something about this guy. And the more dialogue that I can create, the more I know. It's an information game.
Right.
In other words, I've got to know everything about this guy that I can know. I've got to know what he's seen. I've got to know. In other words, I've got to know which way to come at him. Okay? And if you can't get that, if you can't get to that point, he's going to show you the door anyway. You see what I mean? Because yeah, go ahead.
What I want to add is, are you concerned about after you write the deal canceling or kicking 4 days out later, buttoning up? All right, let's see, you're
No, I don't have, yeah,
your question's a little different now. In other words, you're not asking a question, what Jack said is absolutely correct, but you're asking another question now. You're talking about that rescission period,
Right.
of them walking away from you and going
Well,
somewhere else.
Right.
Another game.
Now, that's a different game. Understand this. If you've done your job as a salesperson, and you've done it right, and then you got to button that deal up. Hey, this is fantastic what you did. And I'll tell you one thing you've done. You know, you never know what's going to get happen. You might transfer out of here tomorrow. You might have to move somewhere else, or you want to sell this house. Well, thank goodness you're with me. Goes back to selling the company. Goes back to saying that, you know, the money's not the most important thing. At half the point, we'll get this house sold and financed for you when you have to sell back in 6 months. You got to button that deal
See,
up.
there's a button up in every sale. We're talking about the closing of the sale, but then after the sale is made and the close is already made, they're on the contract, then you button up. Then you button the deal up. I mean, everybody in the world today has a 3-day rescission written right in the contract, 5 days.
2 weeks.
2 weeks with him. Every contract that you write today has a rescission period. The federal government says that I can go buy a car, drive it off the lot, drive it for 3 days, and take it back and say I don't want it. Everybody's got that. So once you have made the sale, done the close, then you button them up. Okay, that's a totally different ballgame. Because
Let me say this about our business, and maybe y'all can still give us some more insight as to what we're dealing with here. We don't have any type of contractual binding obligations with the people that we deal with. And we don't sell to the general public per se.
I understand.
Our sales are made more or less to individual real estate brokers or developers or somebody of that nature. And when we go into these people, we're talking to them about a particular product line that they could possibly use to help them close the deal. Okay? Because our objectivity is more or less a service to them to complete their end result. Okay? Taking that into consideration and the fact that this guy can give the deal to me, turn around and get the deal to him,
Same time.
and turn around and get a deal to him. Okay?
Same with me.
How do you button it up? How do you close that? So that you have got it straight.
Again, as I say, just like John says, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sell yourself. If the toughest thing in the world, is if you've ever bought anything from somebody and you changed your mind, is to tell them that you have. Okay? Especially if the guy's done his job and he sold himself to me. Okay? Now, you can't look into any crystal balls and foresee any problems that he might have, and that's why this information, you've got to get it out front. Because what it does, he's exposing to you himself, he's exposing everything to you. You've got to get that information out of this guy. And then once you do, the button up, you reverse him. You say, now listen, are you sure this is what you want to do? You've got him tight. You got him in there. You got him cinched down. Now, you sure? You know, I mean, this is really what you want to do.
I can count on you doing this for me, right?
Yeah.
What you are is a wholesaler, that's all you are. All right?
You've got to reverse. Now it's the reverse time. And reverse sales has worked for eons. And it's a technique of taking it away from him after you sold. Oh, no. Yeah, that's what I want to do. I covered the 3-day rescission on a contract. So, you know, you spend $100,000 here. This is after they've signed it, they did, shake hands and all this. Everything's fine in it. You realize you spent $100,000 here. I don't want you to regret this. If you want to change your mind, now's the time to do it. I mean, that's how strong I go.
Rip it up.
You want to change it? I've ripped them up.
Right, I'll rip it up if you want.
And rewrite it. Once you've made the sale, you have control. Okay? You have the control. And that's when you start buttoning it up and firming it up and firming it up and firming it up. You see what I mean? That you continue to support. You don't run out of the place. See?
Right, and the point is, you know, you're a wholesaler, right? I mean, you got to keep your mind totally open. These systems work. I don't care what you're selling. But you had this guy to make a commitment for you. Hey, that's fantastic. I'm glad you're doing this for me because I'm going to go in and tell him right now that this is coming across this way. Now, we're sure we're going to do this, right? All right, hey, you're not going to take advantage of me now because, you know, I'm new in the business or because I'm a woman. This was a great one. Now, if you did it, if you're taking advantage of me because I'm a woman, I can't believe this. You got to use all your strength. You know, and trust me when I tell you.
Use all the tools.
If you set that man up, now look, I can count on you this one, right? Because I know you're going to be able to count on me. Because understand, someone's walking out of there with that contract. And if you're going to let it up to luck, then shame on you and get out of business.
If they getting back down to a close and a button up, if I were in your business and I thought for 30 seconds the guy was going to kick, or what we call bombs, all right, bomb outs, I'd pick up the phone and say, geez, boy, my boss is going to be tickled to death that I got this deal. Let me call him right in front of the guy. You know what I mean, any lock, any type of thing, man, boy, this here suit. I mean, it's, you know, how can, you know.
And our company owes you one now.
Yeah.
I want to make sure Andre tells me right now. You got to pay
it's a super, you think
Put it
I'm
on him.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Listen, is there anybody else you'd like for me to go see? Is there anybody else you'd like for me to go see? Any customer, any guy that's got any problem, maybe I can help him. Now you're going to start helping his friends. The next thing you know, you start what's called a circle of influence. And the guy says to him, he said, Jesus Christ, this guy helped me out. He's a great guy. Sure, I could have bought it from somebody else, but this guy here is going to take care of me. Okay? Everybody's going to take care of me. It's like I said, like I told my son, he said to me, you know, he's 14 years old, he said to me the other day, he said, Dad, he said, do you realize that the foreigners are buying all this property, buying land in the United States? I said, yeah. I said, so you start practicing right now, you're 14, 30 years from today, your campaign promise will be, if you're not a citizen of the United States, you got to give all the land back. We'll get you a land. In other words, there's always, you're going to do something for somebody. You see what I mean? And you're going to do something for this guy. As I say, the similarity to your situation is, as I say, once you put the roof on the house, you have to take time to nail it down. The close is putting the roof on the house. Building the sale is selling the lot, putting the bricks up, building the foundation, putting the walls up, doing all the interior stuff. Now you're going to put the roof on the house. So you put the roof on the house and you walk out. Would you walk out? No, that's the close. Now the button up. Let's hammer this home. Let's make sure he doesn't kick out. Now you can be a little premature on this, and this is why I say, when you say, well, I want to think about it, fine, I can understand that. And you go right back into the sale. Overall, what do you think of our program? Overall,
Expensive.
it's expensive, yeah. Well, most good things are.
That's the cost of doing business.
You know, and then right back into more presentation. But the majority of time, if the guy says to you, if he gives you some phony baloney objection, it's as plain as the nose on your face. I mean, really, you can feel it. Once you've had the experience in sales, you think, oh man, have I ever heard this one before? It's the only objection I ever heard that just really turned me off was I was selling campsites, and we were selling campsites that were 30 feet by 40 feet for $5,000 and $6,000 a smash.
Worth every
Yeah. This guy got him out there, and he said, "This lot's too big." I didn't say another word. I started my car, took him back, and I said, "Get out." Now, I mean, come on. What are you looking for? It's too big. I couldn't believe it. I heard everything. I heard them all. But no, the main thing is that John hit the nail on the head. Basically, if you will just say to yourself that you are, in fact, man, this isn't that you're putting on an act. You're an actor. And you can either be a good actor, you can be a bad actor, you can be a smart actor, you can be a dumb actor. You know what I mean? But the thing is this: that you present yourself, your tops. You know your tops. You may not know all the product knowledge and all of that crap. That's not really important. The important thing is to get close to that customer, and really, when you shake hands with them, think about shaking hands with them. You know what I mean? I mean, really get next to them, man. It's the only way you're going to sell them. It's the only way you're going to sell them in a competitive sales type thing. You know, my close is when they say when the final blow off is and they don't buy from me, either they can't afford it or the guy hasn't totally shopped and he wants to shop some more. I tell them, listen, if you find a better deal than mine, come and get me, and I'll go with you, and we'll both buy it. Okay? Then, if he calls me back, I got another shot. Oh, listen, I bought down at Topsail Dunes. Oh, really? Yeah. Why don't you drop by and show me the program? I can find fault in the program.
I bet you could.
Oh, yeah. I can always find fault in the program. You know what I mean? What kind of construction is this? That I got. Then I can just. Then I take him dead away. I know that 72-hour rescission. If that salesman didn't do the button up on him, he's history. I'll get him. Because I know now that he has the ability to buy. See what I mean? But that's it. I think salesmanship is like I say, as I said initially, if you get enough people to listen to you, you can become the President of the United States. That's all it is. It's a sales job. Let's face it.
And I'd like to add in there that in our type of sale, what we're trying to do is not necessarily establish rapport with the person we're getting our money from, the purchaser. More often than not in our business, as you all know, you get the purchaser in there, you take the loan application, and you do establish some sort of a rapport, but they're gone, and then you're processing it, and you may not see them again. But the person that's going to give you the deal in our business, Jack, is usually the broker or the real estate agent. That's the one that's going to send you Molly and Jimmy Smith and then call you up the next day and say, hey, I got Jimmy and Sammy Williams. Will you take their loan application too? So
if you have
established rapport,
if you've done your job as a good salesperson, what will happen is that this guy who is looking to get Jimmy and Jane financed, I got just the guy for you. You see what I mean? Because he remembers you. He remembers how you handle people. You know what I mean? He knows that you can do it because you did it to him. See what I mean? You got his attention. You sold him, man, and that's important because he thinks that because now you're a friend, man. You are. This guy is terrific. He can do anything. He can almost walk on water. You know what I mean? And that's what he wants to convey back to the people he's referring you to. Hey, this guy is super. You won't have any problems. No problems with this. And when, this is another good, one of the greatest, when somebody gives you an objection, no problem. No problem. By the way, they just, see what I mean? Right back into another close. No problem, yeah.
You're selling condominiums now, is that right?
Yeah. I sell condominiums.
You have your own financing right there for that particular condo?
Nope.
Where do you get your financing?
Well, it depends on what I need.
Okay.
I shop finance.
So then you very well know our end of the business.
Sure, I think I do. I don't know the technical
Okay,
things.
so you have mortgage people, banks calling on you, right, to try to get you to give the deal to them, right? I'm trying to figure a question I want to answer. What turns you on or turns you off?
How
about
can you
these
get your
people
business?
coming
Again,
in?
I buy the guy who sells me himself.
There it is.
That's who I buy. I mean, I know that if this guy can answer the questions for me and mesmerize me for an hour, that he's going to handle my customers properly. I'm not going to get the short end of the stick. In other words, it's I've got 8.5% with deferred interest for 3 years, and I got more programs than I know what to do with. If I started selling programs, I wouldn't sell nothing. Okay, so basically, what I do, I find the guy who, and it's not always the best deal because you know, Cameron Brown's fixed as 13 and an 8, and it depends on what that customer needs.
Your objections are points too high, the interest rate's wrong.
Everything.
All right, you give us the objections that we normally get, okay? But you're selling the individual himself.
I haven't. If this guy can fill my need as far as financing is concerned, and he can convince me, and he handles himself properly or herself properly, then this is all I need. I'm the one that's going to make the judgment on him, or whether I want him with my customers. And how he impresses me. And he's not going to impress me by just numbers alone, because I've taken a deal and fit the customer to it and send them to this particular on this particular deal. You know, today it's tax shelter investment basically is what you're selling. But there are the guy who doesn't make quite as much money, he wants to, you got to have a shoe that'll fit him too. And I don't know what your I don't know how many of your deals your customers are working. Is it big projects? Is it big subdivisions? Or what are you shooting at? What?
Mostly spot on.
Mostly what are called spot loans, just an individual deal that comes through the realtor. Yeah.
You people, for example, you say you do in fact deal directly with the consumer when you take the credit app, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You say we don't deal with them that much. Have you ever thought about after you dealt with him as selling that customer flowers?
Yes, I have.
A
card.
Well, okay,
Card.
good. You get a card with about 5 or 6 of the salesman's card, and that's the guy you're trying to sell it to with a nice note on every one. All these little things. Make yourself a little bit different. That's it. There's a million
I
ways.
automatically send out a referral card. I've done it all my life, ever since I started in the business. I started on a reverse sale. You can't have this unless you give me 5 people that I can go see. I won't sell you this. The deal was so good. I sold them many of them. They give me 5 names. I don't care. The main thing is, when you ask them for something and they give you something, it ties you closer to them.
And I think to apply it, because they don't know our business as well as we do, that we can take this really gem that they just gave us and use it on your real estate agent. Do you have another agent, okay, in the business that you know really well that you could introduce me to? We have 5 new people that have just started, okay, in this room. We have 1 or 2 more people that have only been in business for a very short period of time. And one of the things that they're going to have to do after they finish their training is get out and talk to real estate agents and brokers and be their friend and do all the things that we talked about. But the other thing too is to be able to switch off of them into other people, to be able to get in with one agent and to use that contact that you've established with that agent or broker and to be able to flip it out to the other people and say, do you have any other agents that you're good friends with that you could introduce me to? What's better than an introduction? Going up and saying, hi, I'm Jimmy Jones, and they're saying, yeah, man, I gotta get, or having their best friend who's also an agent come up and say, I'd like to introduce you to Tom Donnelly, he's a new agent, and I've been really pleased with him, and he just wanted to say hello to you. Or, you know, is that...
If he gives you a name, he's got to buy. You know what I mean? In other words, he's going to give you a referral, he's got to buy from you. You know? The idea is to make that guy give you something. Give you something. It's an exchange, that's all it is. Always make sure you take something from that customer. Take something from him, very important. You know, it's interesting, I had a pair of old cowboy boots that I had when I was in the land business. And I still got them, they're 20-some years old. And I took them to a shoe cobbler. And interesting, beautiful 35-year-old black woman was the shoe cobbler. She's in Wilmington, North Carolina. She says, why do you want to fix these boots? I said, well, they're comfortable. I said, and they're just, you know, I just happen to like them. And so she says, well, that'll be $44 to repair these boots. I said, okay. And the sign said, all monies must be paid in front. So I gave her my $44, and she saw the little bit of surprise that I showed, and it you know, that still didn't make any difference. I was going to get them fixed up, but I had never. She got my money in front. Was basically what she did before she did the work. Okay. But then she rewarded me with a gift of 3 little handkerchiefs. And a surprise gift. I came in to pick up my boots, and here's this little gift with 3 handkerchiefs. I've never had anybody give me a gift like that spontaneously. And I thought to myself, I've been missing. I used to send flowers on every deal. But now I send flowers and a referral card. I don't care who. When you ask for those names and you pick up a telephone and call somebody that somebody referred you to, you don't never know what's going to happen until you make the call. You got to make the call. Good work habits. That's the only thing John didn't discuss with you, and that is you've got to set up a plan of work habits. You have to do it, and you have to do it religiously. It's kind of like exercising. It's kind of like eating. It's kind of like everything. You've got to set up those habits. And people, I can go into a bar, and I've hired 7 people this last year. I don't have. The island's run over with agents that aren't making any money. My low-paid person last year was $46,000, and a woman who never sold anything in her life. Okay, but she learned one thing. She learned how to TO, and that was her education. She would take the people out, walk them around, bring them back in, TO them to me, and sit back and listen.
TO is a takeover.
Yeah.
In
And
the business.
step
You'll
back
see it in
and
the car business a lot.
Unreal. But what made me hire her was I sat in a bar. She was a barmaid. I sat in a bar and I watched her, and her work habits is what made me hire her. I mean, when she wasn't busy serving drinks, she was busy cleaning tables. If she wasn't cleaning tables, she was sweeping floors. If she wasn't sweeping floors, she was helping somebody else out. This woman was in constant motion. So you have to create good work habits. If you can't create the good work habits, you're dead. You better go get a job where they hand you your check at the end of every week.
Do you have any more questions? Because you have a wealth of experience here with these two people that you probably won't have back again. And this is as good an opportunity for those of you that are new or those of you that are experienced and maybe have a question. I'll tell you something, we could not afford these people, okay, if they charged. And if you have some questions, now is the time to answer. And that's why we're not giving them anything today.
I've got a question, more or less some tips. Business we in, we call on real estate agents.
A little louder, Mark.
Call on real estate agents, brokers, and we get the cases from them. Win them over, we get a case from them. Then it comes time to perform, provide the service. Now, when we fail in providing that service, we lose that agent. Some tips on how to get that agent back.
Why? Well, first of all, the question that comes to my mind is why would you lose it?
Well, that's getting into our business, though. When we bring a deal in, it's more or less up to our process for them to process that case so that they can get to closing. So we do, I guess you would call 2 closings. Based on what you all are saying. So the case is really in the processor's hand.
In other words, the
John, you want to?
Well, for what he's saying is, you lose the deal because, let's say that you've got to get the loan approved in 30 days because there's a moving van coming with that guy from his other house, and all of a sudden you screw up, something goes wrong wherever, and you're now not going to be able to get that thing approved to 40 days, and he's got that van coming in 30. All right? And so what happens is, more often than not, the deal's too far down the pike for you to actually lose the deal. You're going to get that deal because he's locked into you, but you're sure going to lose that agent or that broker, and your name's going to be dirt around the office. And I think if I can read you right, what you're saying is maybe possibly some tips on how, because we live in, our business is high service level, okay? You know, we provide money, but anybody can go, any agent go any place else and almost get the same type of money. So why do they come to us? Because personality, all the things we talked about, because we maintain a high service level. What happens when the service level falls out, which is what we're selling? How do you get back into that agent or that broker?
Well, if I can say one thing, number one, you're talking about your numbers. You're going to lose some. Okay? First of all, don't go out there, as I really got to say yourself, you're going to do the best that you can. That's all you can do. There's going to be some problems. And the key is when you have a problem, the worst thing you can't do is not show up. What you do is you babysit them. You walk them through them.
You have to call them
You
and say,
take
hey,
your
look,
time, you take them out to lunch, you spend some extra money with them. These things occur. But the numbers are going to what keep you there. The fact that, I'll guarantee you, maybe that's 1 out of 7, 1 out of 9, 1 out of 10. But when that happens, just don't go there and apologize. Go in there and make them believe that you're doing everything you can. You're there, you're with them, you're counseling
You're
them.
still trying.
That's right,
You're
you're
still
counseling
trying.
them.
So the main thing is that if you can convince that man that you've sold that you're still trying to work out his problem, he's going to listen to you because he can't go anyplace else and have it solved. But to go back in, okay. If you want to go back into your man, any type of thing. Can we have lunch? Anything that is not business related. I've got a building of 36 people that's supposed to close in December. What's the date? What's the date?
March.
What? Really? No kidding. They haven't closed yet because it isn't completed. All right. So I've had these 36 and I'm juggling. And there are times when you're going to, like John says, you're going to blow, you're going to lose them because you can't reason with them. But basically, at a point like that, it's a case of reasoning. Now, if you want to get back in the door, if the account's worth it to you, then you spend a little more time with it and work with it. I don't care what you have to do to get him. It's kind of like my boy and I were discussing. We were riding up here yesterday afternoon. We were discussing salesmanship. Boy, George has done a hell of a job. And he's married, and they wouldn't even let him into Italy because he had his picture straight on his passport, and he was dressed like he was dressed. He's done a super job, hasn't he? salesmanship. It's all salesmanship. You're on stage. And if you can get in front of that guy, and if he likes you well enough, he's going to listen to you. He's going to want to believe you, man, because he likes you.
He'll work with you.
And you can dance. I know, hey, listen, but you may make him angry. You know what I mean? So the best love I've ever had. Right.
And the point I'm making, is everybody real religious here, because this might get, I mean, I'm an extremist when I make statements sometimes. Remember, even Jesus Christ got in trouble. He had a lot better connections than you and me. And they're going to happen. Okay? But if you're there all the time, you built that rapport, they're going to work with you and for you. But remember, the key to sales are your numbers. You're going to lose some, you're going to make the most. And the key is that you make the most. And you just keep walking.
The guy who doesn't have cancellations and fallouts, he's not doing nothing. He ain't closing. He's just taking orders.
Anybody got a final question before we wrap this up? Okay. If not, I'd like to thank.
You said.
Come on. Anything up to $2, boys.
You bumped your price, John.
Just remember, sell yourself, man. That's the number one. And that's the name of the game. God damn, boy, I'm telling you.
Are you two available for my closings when I get
Hey, we want to thank
I don't even
both
go
of
to
you.
my own.
Anyway, we want to thank both of you very much for taking the time.
To present the award for Best Rhythm and Blues Instrumental Performance are two gentlemen who currently are enjoying great success as a recording duo, and as songwriters they provide material that makes history for a lot of other performers. Here with a combination of 5 Grammy Awards between them are Mr. James Ingram and Mr. Michael McDonald.
There are a lot of fantastic and worthy winners in the R&B field tonight. Let's acknowledge them, Mike.
Absolutely. For Best R&B Vocal Performance Female, Shaka Khan. For Best R&B Vocal Performance Male, Billie Jean Michael Jackson. For Best R&B Performance by a duo or group with vocal, Ain't Nobody, Rufus and Shaka Khan. For Best New Rhythm and Blues Song, Billie Jean, Michael Jackson songwriter.
And now for the Best R&B Instrumental Performance, here are the nominees. Quincy Jones and Jerry Hay, Billie Jean Instrumental version.
Jazz Chief, The Move.
Herbie Hancock, Rocket.
And James Brown, Today.
Gap Band, Where Are We Going? And the winner is Rocket, Herbie Hancock.
You know, I've been in this business 22 years, almost 23 years, and I've been nominated a few times, and this is the very first Grammy I've ever won. I'm so proud.